Hi guys and welcome back. In this video we're going to be taking a look at my new Makita DLS211 compound mitre saw. I'm going to be showing you all the things that I love about it and all the things that I hate about it. Well, I say hate's a strong word, but there are some things that I don't like about it, as in with everything. But let's jump in. I'm going to bring you in a little bit closer and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so let's start talking about some of the specs on this saw. Now, this saw isn't going to be for everyone. This is a big saw. There's no denying that. It is huge. There's no getting away from that. So the overall width on this is 690mm in its closed position. But if you pull these extension wings out, it actually goes out to a massive 940mm wide. So that's a big saw in itself. In its open position like this, it is 770mm tall. And then front to back on this is actually a massive 920mm. That's going from this back point here to the front of this handle over here. So like I say, it is a big saw, so you're going to need a lot of space to use this if you're going to be having it set up in a workshop like I have. I do occasionally take this on site as well, which can be a right faff getting it in and out of the van and into jobs and that. But it's that trade-off of whether you want that cut capacity, and that's what I wanted primarily. I wanted a big cut capacity for when I'm doing stuff. Now, with the weight on this, it actually says 25 kilos on the little label on the side of here, but everything I've found online said that it's more closer to 30 kilos. Now, it might be 25, I'm not sure. I've got no way of actually weighing this short of like standing on a set of scales and holding it myself. But I say it feels more like 30. If it is 25, it feels more like 30. So yeah, again, it's a big saw. Like I keep on saying, you are going to have that trade-off. You're not going to get a big saw like this that's really lightweight. Yeah, it's that trade-off depending on what you want. And yeah, again, I wanted the cut capacity, so that's what I've gone for with this. Okay, so some of the other features that you've got on here is you've actually got a laser cut indicator on here, which is switched up the top here, so you can actually turn that on and off, which is quite handy for me because I don't actually like using them, to be honest. I prefer to work to a physical mark and bring my blade down into that and creep up on my cut. The laser on this does actually work really well. It's adjustable here as well, left or right. You've got a little knob on the top here that you can twist to move it left or right to dial it in. Like I said, works really well. I don't actually use it. You've got a Bluetooth function on here, but you will need to buy an additional chip to go into there. It tricked me when I first got it because up on the top here, it's got an on and off button in there. And I thought it had the Bluetooth on it, but it weren't until I pulled that out and I realised there wasn't a chip in there. Yeah, again, doesn't really bother me because my Festool CT15 doesn't have Bluetooth on it anyway, so I'm always having to turn down and turn it on. Makita, if you are watching this review and you want to send me an extractor and a Bluetooth chip, I'll be more than happy to receive them from you. That's me wishing there. I don't think that's going to happen. Couple of other features on here is it'll tilt in both axes, so it'll go left and right on the tilt, which is another feature that I really look for in a saw. Wouldn't have one without of it. It miters round to 60 degrees in both angles, which is really handy. You find with most saws they'll only go either 45 in both directions or 60 in one and 45 in the other. So the fact that you can do both on this, I really like. Okay, one of the things that I don't actually like about this saw is if you do want to twist this over and cut on the 45s in either direction, what you can do on most other saws is just release your knobs at the back and actually slide these over out your way. You can't actually do that on this saw. What you have to do is release the knobs at the back and then actually take these out, which is fine if you're 45 in this direction. But if you want to cut a big piece of skirting board like on the angle this way, which I sometimes do, there are instances where you would want to do that, you've got nothing supporting this at the back and it can get quite tippy. Now, I know that you can lay it down and then do the same cut in this direction, but like I say, there are some instances where you do actually want to have your stock up in this direction and cut on an angle like that. Say this is an angled piece and you'd already made up the mitre and then you wanted to cut that. There are instances where that comes up. So yeah, that's just one thing to bear in mind. These don't slide out of the way. You have to physically take them out. Okay, another thing that this saw comes with is one of these cam clamp type deals that you pop in the back over here, and then that will secure your workpiece down in place. Yeah, again, something that I don't often use, but this one does work particularly well. So if you did want that, you have got that feature there. Okay, the way to cant this saw over was a bit tricky. You'll notice on here you've got this nice big knob. On the Festool saws, you actually turn this knob and it will tilt this saw over, and that's what I thought I was getting with this saw, but you don't. This is just actually a locking mechanism that you release, and then you kind of have to hold it in the right spot and then clamp this down. Yeah, again, not a massive issue, but I would have liked to have been able to turn this knob and it would have tilted the saw into the right position. Just a small thing, but it is something that you need to know if you're watching this review and thinking about buying this saw. This knob doesn't tilt the saw, it's just the lock. Okay, so let's talk about dust extraction with this saw. Now, bear in mind, this is a mitre saw. You're never going to catch everything out of the back of a mitre saw. It does come with a dust collection bag. I wouldn't bother, it doesn't actually work. I mean, it's better than nothing, but it doesn't really work. You do need to put a dust extractor on the back of this if you're going to be using it internally, you know, in someone's house or something like that. You do need to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a little test now. I'm going to put my CT15 dust extractor on the back of this. We're going to do one cut in this bit of 4x4 post, which is the offcut from when I made my bench build. If you haven't seen that, I'll link that up here, one of these sides here. So I'm going to do one cut with the extraction on. I'm going to do one cut with the bag on, just so I can show you guys how this works. To put the bag on, turn this round for you guys, tilt you round. You have to take this hose off, which is really easy to come off. It just unclips and then comes out the way. I would have preferred to have not had to take that off, but you do have to. So yeah, I'm going to set up this little test now for you guys, just so I can show you the kind of dust. What I'm going to do is, look, just to make it fair, there's a lot of dust on the table at the minute and all that. So I'm going to get my little leaf blower. I'm going to clean it all down. We're going to start with a fresh, clean saw, and then we're going to go from there, and I'll show you the results of both of them. Okay guys, so this is the first test. As you can see, I've got my CT15 Festool extractor hooked up. We're nice and clear around the saw. So we're going to do the first cut with the extractor on, and we're going to take a little look at that. Okay, so that's the first cut. And as you can see, a bit of dust behind there, but overall, we're pretty good with the extractor on. It's not too bad, that'd be acceptable for me. Okay, now time for the second test. As you can see, I've had a good clear up, there's no dust. Ignore that bit on the bench there. Let me get rid of that. There we go, right, so we've got no dust on the bench. You can see there that I've disconnected the hose and put the bag on. So this is going to be second test with the dust bag, just to see how good it is. Okay, so that's the test with the dust bag, and as you can see, a bit more dust around there, and that's just with one cut. So as you can imagine, you'd get quite a lot of dust without using that extractor with it. So I would say the dust bag's not worth using. You do need an extractor with this, unless you're obviously cutting outside, and then you'd be fine. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is the noise levels of this machine. Now, I don't actually find it that noisy at all, to be honest with you. I think it's quite good. I did, however, whilst we was running that test with the chop saw, I had just a decibel meter on my phone, just a free one that you get in the App Store, set up on the side, and I recorded that, and it was hitting between 85 and 90 decibels, which I don't find too bad at all, to be honest with you, especially for a chop saw, you know, or mitre saw, whatever you want to call it. Now, they can be really, really noisy. Okay, so the final thing that I want to talk about with this saw is actually setting it up. Now, it didn't actually come square out of the box. It weren't miles out, it was a little bit out of square. which I wasn't that pleased with, considering that I come from a Festool KS60 before this, which was bob on from the minute I got it. Never had to adjust that at all. This saw was out a little bit. I started off by adjusting the fence, or trying to adjust the fence on that with the supplied Allen key that comes with it. That didn't work. What I did find, however, is actually you've got 4 screws on the little plate down here. I slightly loosened them off, budged it round to where I wanted. It took me about 5-10 minutes to get it to where I wanted it, and then tightened them back up. So it is actually quite easy to set up. If I'd bothered to read the instructions, I probably would have found that out a lot quicker than I did. So yeah, it is easy to square up and true up. But yeah, when you're spending £700 on a saw, you don't really want it to come out square, do you? But like I said, it was easy enough to fix up anyway and get right. Okay, so the other thing that I need to point out is that this actually runs off 2 18-volt batteries, this saw. You probably know that already if you're looking at buying this saw, or I've probably left it in the title up the top or whatever. But yeah, just to make you aware, it does run off 2 18-volt batteries, meaning it's a 36-volt saw. You will need 2 other batteries, and I'd recommend getting a dual charger as well, because once you kill them batteries, you don't want to be charging 1 battery at a time, because the likelihood is you're going to kill the other batteries before you go before you've got the other 2 charged, especially on a standard charger. A fast charger, you'd probably get away with it, but yeah, I would recommend, if you've got this saw, I would say you need 4 batteries and you need a dual charger, really, if you're using it like how I use it. You know, if it's for occasional use, you'll be fine. If you're using it like how I would use it, where it'll be like you get it out and you use it all day long, really you need 4 5-amp-hour batteries and a dual charger just to keep on top of things with it. Saying that, the battery life is actually very, very good. With these thin kerf blades that you get with this, it doesn't drain down that quickly. It does last, you know, you get a good 3/4 of a day, like constant cutting out of it, so it's pretty good. But yeah, like I said, you don't want to be waiting around, especially if you've got, like me, like all of my tools are Makita primarily, so you don't want to be like hunting around for batteries, and every time you pick up a tool you want to be swapping a battery over. So just bear that in mind when buying this saw. You do need to have additional batteries to go with it as well if you want to be using it constantly. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to say on the saw. I've probably forgotten something, to be honest, because I normally do. So if there's anything you want to know, hit me down in the comments below and I'll get back to you. I answer all the questions and all the comments in my videos, so please feel free to get in touch if there's anything you do want to know. But then I suppose you guys will want to know what I actually think about the saw, and you might have heard me talk about a lot of the negatives in this and be thinking, well, are you actually happy with this saw then, you know, for the outlay that you've put on it? And the truth is, yeah, I am. I'm actually really over the moon with this saw. I love it. Like I said, in this video, I've pointed out the negative points because I feel like that's what you guys want to know. I find it frustrating when I watch a review or whatever and they just talk about all the nice, pretty, shiny things with it, and then they don't actually go into, you know, the bits that niggle them with it. So I've tried to highlight what niggles me with it. None of them are massive issues at all. You know, it's a really good saw for the money. You know, it's a brilliant saw for the money. Not saying it's cheap, you know, it's the best part of £700. And by the way, I did actually buy this myself. This hasn't been supplied by Makita or anyone. I've purchased this myself. But yeah, for the money, it's a brilliant saw, you know, and it goes up against some saws that are a lot more expensive than this. I feel like it competes really well with them. The cut quality on this is absolutely beautiful. I mean, that's not a new blade in there at all. I've cut plenty of wood. Can I get that to focus? Yeah, I mean, look, that's the cut quality off that saw, and this is cut plenty of wood. I've actually cut aluminium with this blade as well. And that's the stock blade in there. The cut, like, you know, it's beautiful. It really is a nice saw. It's really accurate once you get it set up properly. I'll find it stayed really accurate. But yeah, that's the only things to bear in mind. This saw isn't for everyone. Don't go out and rush out and buy this saw unless you need it. There's a smaller brother of this one, which is probably more suited to everyone. This is only really if you need a big saw with a big cut capacity. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it gets thumbs up from me. I love it. I really love it. I don't love the weight of it. I don't like lugging it around into jobs and all that. But to be honest with you, I don't like lugging any of my tools around. I love all my tools. I don't like getting them out and I don't like putting them away. And this is just another thing with this. It's big, it's heavy, but once you've got it set up and you're using it, it's a dream to use. But anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I want to thank you guys for watching along. If you want to see more of this sort of stuff, hit that subscribe button, ding that bell. You'll be up to date with all of my videos, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Okay, so the other thing that I want to talk about is the noise of this machine. Now, I don't actually find it that noisy, to be honest with you. I did, however, whilst